Hello crafters, this is Yana Smakula. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a hot foil birthday card tutorial to share featuring products from my new Yana's Blooms collection with Spellbinders. My new collection launched just recently on January 14th, 2022, and you can find it in the Spellbinders online store as well as at select retailers online, and I have links to several below. I also have a collection overview video for you showing all of the products from this release and also lots of card examples. I designed this collection with elegant spring birthday cards in mind. I always lack birthday cards in my stash. This is one type of card that I never have enough of. So when I was developing this collection, I knew I wanted it to include a variety of products that would be suitable for elegant birthday cards. Now, I say elegant because this collection doesn't have any candles or any balloons. It does include a lot of beautiful flowers and scripty words. Now, many of these products are quite versatile and they can be used for other occasions as well. So this collection is not limited just to birthday cards. All supplies I'm using for this project are listed and linked in the video description below for your convenience. One of the key products in my Yana's Blooms collection is the Magnolia Glimmer Blooms Glimmer Hot Foil Plate. Here's a look at this plate, and it is a beautiful magnolia cluster. Magnolia is one of my favorite flowers, and so I wanted to have a beautiful magnolia to use for my cards. Here, I foiled this cluster in matte gold foil on Simon Says stamp 130-pound cardstock, and this panel is cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, so you can see that this cluster is pretty big. It's actually large enough to take center stage on an A2 card. There's also a coordinating die included with the glimmer plate to help you cut the foil design out. Here you have the beautiful outline blooms, and you also have solid leaves with some detail added to them. I wanted to have some solid foiled elements to this magnolia, so I made the leaves solid. This way, you don't have to color the leaves. You will only need to color the flowers, but then again, you can skip coloring altogether because these look beautiful when just simply foiled in gold on white. Now, I say you can skip coloring, but I did design this cluster with coloring in mind. I love to color with Copic markers, so I wanted to be able to color this image. I'm going to show you a simple way to add color to this cluster. Now, if you look up magnolia images online, I like to go to Pinterest and just type magnolias, you'll notice that magnolias are usually white with just a hint of color at the base of the petals. I'm going to try and replicate that look here by keeping most of the flower petals white and adding just a touch of hot pink coloring at the very base. I'm starting with my darkest RV09 marker and adding flicks of color at the very base of the flower petals. Next, using RV11 marker and flicking that color further into the petal, but not too far. Now, foil will resist alcohol ink from your alcohol markers, although you can color foil using your alcohol marker, but if you do color the foil, you are able to erase that coloring using a colorless blender or a very light color marker. So don't be afraid to color your foiled images using your Copics or whatever other alcohol markers you prefer to use. Next, I'm using RV00. This is my lightest, and flicking the color well into the center of the petals, but not further. Like I said, we're not coloring the entire petal, we're just adding color at the very base. I can go back to the darkest color, the RV09, and reapply it to intensify it. Now, if you want to add even more detail, perhaps some finer detail, you can use a colored pencil for that. Here, I'm using my Polyhromos colored pencils from Faber-Castell. Now, I don't remember the exact colors I'm using, but I do love these particular pencils. I know that Prismacolor pencils are also very popular among card makers. I personally prefer the Polyhromos pencils from Faber-Castell because they are harder and they sharpen to a finer point, allowing me to add finer details to my cards. Here you can see I'm adding finer strokes to the flowers. I used 2 colors of the Polyhromos pencils here to add even more detail. Now, if you want to learn more about coloring with colored pencils, you can check out my previous videos. I have an entire playlist dedicated to coloring images for card making with colored pencils. And that playlist is linked right here in the cards and also in the video description below. I colored my entire Magnolia cluster, and here's the result. I love the way it turned out. The white petals and just a little hint of pink at the base. I'm going to create a landscape card. For this, I have already foiled and cut out a large scripty word birthday. Now, the glimmer plate that foils birthday comes from the Splatter Sentiments Glimmer set, and the coordinating die to cut the birthday out comes from another set. That's Yana's Layered Script Sentiment. That's a die set. So the sentiment, the scripty birthday, is available in both die and glimmer form, but only the die form has a coordinating die. The Splatter Sentiments Glimmer set also includes additional words to help you build your sentiment. You can foil happy birthday, on your birthday, or happy birthday wishes. Of course, you can also use stamps from your stash to build the birthday sentiment however you want. I'm going to do the on your birthday sentiment for this card. Now, I have already foiled a background here, and I used my new diagonal glimmer stripes plate for this. I foiled it in opal foil, and I foiled on Simon Says Stamp Fog cardstock. The opal foiling gives a very subtle result, almost like a tone-on-tone look. It's very classy and very elegant. If you haven't tried using the opal foil yet, I cannot recommend it enough for backgrounds like this, and especially when foiling something on colored cardstock. Now, this background plate is very similar to the previously released skinny stripe background. The thickness of the stripe is the same, but here the stripes are diagonal. You can use the skinny stripe background plate if you have it, and you can foil that diagonally. You'll need to foil it twice to cover an A2 card front. Or you can get this new diagonal glimmer stripes plate if you want to foil your backgrounds diagonally. I've laid out the elements on my background to figure out where I want to foil on your. You can layer your foiling and overlap it. It almost always works. And I say almost because with foiling, you do have that element of unpredictability, I would say, where you think it's going to work, but then something goes wrong and it doesn't really foil well. So it almost always works. So just like with regular stamping, you can stamp one design on top of another. You can layer your stamped images. Now, I did use very thin pieces of yellow tape here to tape the plate onto the background and to avoid overlapping with the diagonal stripes. I did make sure to tape it in place because I wanted to be certain that it will foil exactly in that area. The Splatter Sentiments set comes with 3 plates to create splatters on your cards. I love the look of splatter, but if I create it organically by just splattering a product onto my card, I can never get it to look perfect. So I designed these glimmer plates to give me perfect splatters every time. I'm also layering them over the diagonal background and foiling them in the same matte gold foil. I want to have some of this gold splatter underneath my Magnolia cluster and underneath my birthday sentiment. Now, these splatter elements go with so many different products and they work for a lot of different occasions, so not just a birthday card. I used more yellow tape here to tape the pieces onto my background. I wanted to make sure that everything was taped securely, and I foiled them using my Glimmer hot foil machine. Now, I'm not showing the actual foiling in this video as I assume you are already familiar with the hot foil process. Some elements foiled perfectly, others not so much. There are some imperfections, but overall, I'm very happy with the result considering that this is not specialty paper. This is regular colored cardstock that is not really designed for hot foil stamping. I adhered my background to A2 white top folding card base. Next, I foam mounted the Magnolia cluster And finally, I overlapped the Magnolia and foam mounted the word birthday on top. I used glue to secure the part of the birthday that was overlapping the flower. So all of the elements are popped up on this card. Lastly, I added some gems, and these are the Spellbinders Crystal Mix gems. They almost look white, and they go really well with the opal foiling in the background. Thanks so much for joining me today. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.